Hey folks, here's my little chicken, my roaster. Anyway, that was me attempting a Julia Child imitation. Anyway, there's so much to say about roasting chicken. Believe it or not, it's probably one of the most controversial things because everybody knows their favorite chicken recipe, roasted chicken. And I expect a lot of comments and so on and so forth. But, you know, my method isn't gospel. It's just the way I like to do it. And it's a combination of Perfect Chicken by Ina Garten, Simple Chicken by Martha Stewart, and of course Judy Rogers of Zuni Cafe's high heat method. So I'm doing a combination of all three. I'm doing it in a small, perfectly suited size-wise cast iron Dutch oven without the lid. And I just want you all to know that there's so many temperatures and ways to do this. You are always going to find your own way, but I'm just showing you how I do it. So the chicken has been out of the fridge resting for 45 minutes. I already washed it with cold water inside and out. Then I dried it very well with kitchen towels, and I can feel that it's still cool. The reason is you don't really want to bring a raw chicken to room temperature. You want to bring it, you just want the core of the chicken not to be colder than the exterior of the chicken, and the drying of the skin, it will help with crispiness and also help me apply the room temperature butter. I can feel that it's still cool. When I do, so half an hour out of the fridge is good. When I do a large turkey, or, you know, turkeys are large, even the small ones, I leave them out for an hour so that the internal temperature can stabilize. What else can I say? I'm doing a combination of the high heat method, which is how the world-renowned chicken dinner at Zuni Cafe in San Francisco is done. But I don't do it the whole way. The way she does it is she would heat maybe a small skillet or a Dutch oven like this in the oven at 475 and then put the chicken in. But because I'm combining her method, which is glorious. Sorry, an aside, I'm cutting off this fat because I want pan sauce, and I'm going to use this roast chicken to make risotto with roast chicken, wild mushroom risotto with chicken, roast chicken slices, and pan sauce. We don't want extra fat. There will be enough, promise you that. And where was I going? Oh yes, so she would roast it the whole time at the high temperature in an already heated, very hot cast iron skillet or cast iron Dutch oven. I'm using the small one because I think roasters are best when they are small. This one is 1.65 kilograms, which is 3.6 pounds. Old school would put it in all at one temperature, say 400, and the old school method is you calculate 20 minutes per pound, and 20 minutes per pound for this baby, my roaster, is 1.2 hours. You multiply the pounds by 20 and divide by 60. But because I'm starting with the high temperature method and I'm going to reduce it after the first 30 minutes, the temperature, I will be shaving off around 15 minutes. I'd say it'll be 15 minutes fast, like quicker to cook. And as I said, the reason I didn't say, what I was getting at was that I'm combining several methods, and you can't do the vegetable method and the high heat method at the same time. So I start out with my onion slices, very thick. It's about 1/4 inch thick. I have my garlic for stuffing it, and I have a big old carrot, which is probably bigger than the most delightful ones, but actually I didn't cut that quite in half. It doesn't really matter, because the onion and the carrot will be the trivet. The trivet will be at the bottom, and it will contribute to the deliciousness of the pan sauce. So I'm just going to shave a little off here so that they're about even, and put them in the pan. You don't have to slice side down, but you don't have to. These are washed thoroughly and they're organic, but these are just, these will provide flavor to the pan sauce. I don't know if you can see this. And then I'm lining to make my vegetable trivet, I'm lining the center with thick cut onions slices. These are pretty small onions because they came from my dad's farm. If you have a big onion, you really only need 2 of them. Okay, so that's the chicken trivet. This has been dried, like I said. It's still cool, so the butter will probably not slather as well as I would like. We want to, hold on, you need a spoon. We want to do about a teaspoon of salt inside, not too much. I'm putting that back because I can see inside that it's enough. The reason I'm careful with the salt is because we don't want our pan sauce to be salty, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Pepper is also good. Okay, around the same amount. And then I take whatever herbs you have. I have fresh thyme. They must be fresh herbs. Just shove it in the cavity. And then I add a whole head of garlic. This will flavor both, the herbs and the garlic will flavor both the chicken and the sauce. Okay, so these pieces came out of their covering, so we can just put them in like that. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then here's the trick. So, both Ina and Martha Stewart do the chicken, do the lemon method. So here's the deal. You could cut it in half, or you could roll it and then prick it, brick, all over. Or you could microwave it for 30 seconds and then prick it with toothpicks. I put the whole thing in, and that's gonna hold everything together. Now I need to get the twine, just for the legs. You don't need to truss the entire bird. By the way, the oven is coming to close to, well, it's not there yet, but it will be 475 for the first 30 minutes. Okay, so gather the twine, if I can find it. There it is. Don't need that much to pull a tiny chicken leg together. So I just do it, you know, whatever method you want to use. Here's a better way. I'm not going to pretend I'm a sailor or know all the knots. Okay, so I got the two legs together. I'm going to keep the bird as tight to the body as possible, the legs, and also close off the interior so that the lemons and the herbs stay together. Tying it now, double knot. Not so genius, just the way anybody does it for their own shoes, for instance. Okay, and then cut off the rest because it's not very good looking. And we're going to cover this body in butter. Actually, I'm going to first put it into its perch. And the reason this is small and this is a good size, a lot of roasters are smaller and they actually are better for this, but I know that if you have a large family, you need a bigger bird. And I would say up to 5 or 6 pounds will do, and then you'll need a bigger Dutch oven if you're doing my method. I've took another sort of semi-trivet trick is tucking the top of the wing under, and that will provide a little stability, leeward, wayward, whatever you want to think of. I said I'm not a sailor. I don't know why I'm using that language. Lateral movement, how's that? Okay, so we have it there, ready for butter. The butter is room temperature, but the bird is not. It's close, it's just still cool, but the skin is nice and dry, and that's how you get the butter to stick. And I know that you could brush it with olive oil, or you could melt the butter, and you could let the melted butter cool and put on the bird, and those are all great ideas. However, I don't bother with extra melting because this will melt instantly in the 475 temperature oven. So, oh, I didn't mention why the oven is so small, because the Judy Rogers method requires this incredible blast of heat, and I am only utilizing that method for the first 20 minutes or half an hour. I have to say, because this bird is so small, I'll probably only do that for 20 minutes, then turn it down to 400 and check every 20 minutes the temperature. So we have now a nicely seasoned bird with kosher salt, freshly ground pepper. You could add herbs and you could put them under the skin and all that, but the fact is this, oh, I put there's a little more pepper than, let's spread that around. I actually love pepper, so I'm not afraid of it in my resulting pan sauce. And so I'm just waiting for the, oh, I didn't finish my thought. Yes, so the sides, so this cast iron Dutch oven will become hot after half an hour, very hot, and it will retain the heat, and it will push it in on all sides of the chicken. So that's where I differ from all three of the aforementioned great smart cooks, chicken cooks. And It's the way I like it, and it comes out well. So I'll be putting it in, and like I said, I'll set the timer for 30 minutes. I will put it in legs first, and every 20 minutes after that, I will rotate, and I'll check for liquid on the bottom. If there's no liquid, because the chicken is too lean, I'll add a 1/4 cup of water to help get the vegetable juices and the meat juices, keep them from burning on the bottom, because that's going to be the pan sauce. Okay, it's 475 and we're going in. Legs first. And that's a hot oven. I'll be turning it down to 400 in 30 minutes. Okay, folks, that turned out perfectly. I checked and basted it. Let's start from the beginning. I started with the high heat method. You can't see here that the thigh, deep in the thigh, is 168 degrees, which is perfect because you want chicken to be between 165 and 175 in the deep part of the thigh, and that will give you juicy breast meat too. I already checked the temperature of that. I'm putting that on a platter with foil to rest while I make the pan juice. And I need to get some gloves here just to show you all the delicious drippings. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's not a lot of fat. There's just a little, and I use a fat separator, which is the best thing I ever got. And I'm going back to the temperature issue. So, like I said, nothing's written in stone, and it's really all about checking. And so at 475, after 25 minutes, because it's a small bird, for large ones, I would leave it on that temperature for 30 minutes, and I would do everything in 30-minute increments. But this is a small roaster, so I'm doing it on 20-minute increments. So at 475, I turned it down, I checked, rotated the pan so the legs come first and the breast is toward the back. Turned it down to 400. I know I said earlier it was 375, but it's a matter of just adjusting and getting used to what you're working with, the size and so on. So unlike most TV personalities who just say, this is perfect, this is perfect, this is perfect. That's not how you get perfect chicken, in my opinion, and not in my experience. So what I did was I then checked after 20 minutes, basted it and rotated again, and another 20 minutes, basted it and rotated it again. And at that point, I checked the temperature, the internal temperature of the bird, because it was getting close to it was just about at 1.2 hours. And that's kind of, one of the rules of thumb, like I mentioned, is 30 minutes per pound or 20 minutes per pound. I chose 20 minutes per pound, and in this case I was wrong, but the whole point is you must check as you get close to that time frame. And it was so close that the next time, so I basted and rotated, and the next time I checked again at 7 minutes. So I'll post a little picture showing the timing, but I know it sounds complicated. It's not really. You just sit in your easy chair and you got a pad of paper and a pen, and you got a timer, and you'd use the timer, and then you write down so you don't forget, and you can't go wrong. Anyway, I just want to give you a nice shot of my perfectly roasted chicken. Pan juices are dripping out of the chicken, and those will be incorporated. So this will sit for 15 or 20 minutes while I start the pan sauce. And the beginning of the pan sauce involves pouring the entire contents of this into gravy separator, or unfortunately named grease separator. But I can tell that there's not a lot of oil in there. I cut out a lot of the chicken fat, and the butter was just the right amount. I'll be adding, I'm hoping the salt, it's not over salted, but I'll be using low sodium chicken stock to amp it up a bit. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, right. Next, pan sauce. Chicken's been resting. It's still very hot. It's been resting for 20 minutes. A bird of this size only needs to rest for, I'd say 15. But you're not losing temperature by resting it for 20. I'm now pouring, I have this fat separator. It's actually a really cheap one. It's not pretty, but it's really the best $10 investment I ever made. I'm gonna throw all the contents of this into the fat separator, and let whatever juice is left go into, be filtered out. And, you know, one could also smush out the carrot, onion, the juices from the carrots and onion. But for now, I'll be focusing my attention on the pan. I turn the heat to medium-high. And I'm going to splash, I'm going to deglaze the pan with some chicken stock. Here, just, I don't know, 1/4 cup. I could also deglaze the pan with white wine. I do that with turkeys and making gravy, but I'm not making gravy. I am making pan sauce. There's a little bit of a difference. Well, the main difference is you don't thicken it with any kind of starch. You just let the flavor come out of, this is in European cooking or French cooking, the caramelized bits or the brown bits on the bottom are called the fond, F-O-N-D, fond, or font. But font sounds like a fountain, and that's not the root of the word. I'm going to bring this up to a simmer, get my wooden spoon. This is another occasion where the wooden spoon is good. And this shouldn't take long. Don't let it stress you out. The fact is, we're just trying to get the flavor kind of dissolved from all this fond. I don't know really how you say that in English, fond. Okay, it doesn't really matter. But we gotta turn the temperature up, so we gotta, obviously, acids like wine do this very quickly and very well. but I don't have any wine, and I don't think you really need it. I can smell this. If you actually took a little piece in your hand or in your finger and taste it, you would have the most concentrated flavor of chicken. I can smell this chicken's, wow, it's just barely started to get warm. And the thing is, I know I didn't burn anything because I added, twice I added a little, probably 1/8 of a cup of water to the pan during the times that, the first 2 times that I basted and rotated the pan. Then we have these juices, which we'll add shortly. I also want to note before I slice it that this dark covering isn't herbs. It's because I put so much pepper on. Normally, and the reason I did that was because I didn't want to use my fingers after trussing the raw chicken. So I used this teaspoon, and you know, I got a little much, but I actually think it looks great. And I think it's flavored the juices very well. Like I said, it's still quite hot. And this is, I don't know if you can see this. This is coming to a simmer. So I'll turn it down because I had it on quite high. And we're gonna do that. And we're gonna, the idea here is to get all the flavor from the fond and just this will only take a few minutes, and there's very little excuse me, there's very little in here. We'll add it back without the fat. So the fat stayed at the bottom. Put that away. Throw that away. And then we're going to add what's left in after the chicken rested. All of this is flavor. It's extremely nice flavor. Very intense. And like I said, there aren't really many rules here. I just want to find my wooden spoon. There it is. And just taste it. For me, this needs no more seasoning. The chicken was seasoned inside and out. It's not too salty. I don't want more salt. Nobody likes salty food, even if it's the best preparation you ever made. I'm just gonna let this, let's go here. I'm just gonna let this go for about 5 minutes. Then I'm slicing the chicken. Actually, why don't I slice it while this is happening? So this is this knife, everyone at set has one. And it's a meat carving knife. Meat carving knives are different than chopping knives because the chopping knives have a rocking motion. Meat carving knives have a long blade because you're meant to use, instead of your strength, you use the blade. This one's pretty sharp because it's not very, it's not old. I'm going to do the method I learned from, oh, see how my pan sauce is simmering here? I'm just going to undo the twine without cutting myself. Okay, take off a leg. Well, you can tell it's cooked. The leg bone just fell out. So, in the interest of brevity, I'm just going to show you how, oh, there should be a fork, but I'm going to show you how I cut chicken and turkeys. I learned this from an Italian butcher who makes dinners like I do as a catering specialty. I can already taste and smell the lemon, and I can see the juiciness of this breast. So basically, you take the whole breast off. Normally, you take the wings off first. I'm just doing this quickly so you can see. And, you know, the thigh, etc., etc. Take the legs off, then the thighs, then the wings, then the breast, from the bone down, and start slicing like this. And these slices are going to be what you put on top of the risotto with the pan sauce. And the pan sauce, in the interest of brevity, I don't want to burn it, turn it off. Basically, I think I need, oh, I don't need gloves for this. I'll just strain that and you'll get something quite great. Hold on, I'll show you that.